Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman. This is hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, and it all starts now. This is a freedom-loving, faith-filled, fantastic, we're taking America back, one heart, one mind, one issue at a time Friday. This is the broadcast for April the 11th in the year of our Lord 2025, promoting God, family, country, protecting life, liberty, and property, and doing so in the traditions of our founding fathers, using the incredible checks and balances found in the supreme law of the land. Rejecting revolution, unless it's a Jesus revolution, then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. The good doctor's in the house, freedomsrisingsun.com. Welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Hope you've had a fantastic week. A new weekend for most people. I mean, they don't have to work Saturdays like you do.
6 days a week we work. 7th we take a rest, just as the good Lord told us to do. That's how we roll. Welcome to the broadcast. And
Thank
Dr.
you.
Scott Bradley, Q&As. Did you have your webinar last night?
We did indeed.
And
where do we start? I mean, every single week we're just flooded with, how shall I say,
critical issues for the Republic? Yeah.
Right. And as we've said before, and I think it bears repeating, this president is doing everything. President is doing everything. Maybe not everything, but it's in a fishbowl. I mean, you go to his cabinet meetings and you get a constant barrage of announcements and signings and everything like that. And honestly, that's probably how I would do it if I were president, because I would want the people to understand what was happening. It's a great opportunity to make your case. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that I'm agreeing with everything that's happening, but if in fact the people can be informed, and here's the big problem I see is that the people like the Comos and stuff like that take a thing that was done in a very public setting, a 20-minute issue, center in on a half a sentence, and then run with it to try and put it in a bad light. If more and more and more and more people pay attention and participate by just watching what's going on, they'll be able to put it in a context. But I see so many of the spin masters or meisters or whatever you want to call them in the legacy era of the media that take those things and spin them into some kind of a web that they weave. So people need to take the time to say, well, you know what, that's probably available if I wanted to watch it. I could see the whole thing in context. But the fact he's doing everything in a fishbowl kind of brings an awful lot of things up.
Yeah, and it brings a problem because you never really know what's going on with the lies of the mainstream press, along with Trump's what he's doing, along with this and that. And, you hear a snippet of what somebody says and don't get the whole context, so you get led astray. If I were president, personally, here's what I would do. I would prioritize based on the promises I made to the American people, and I would deliver on those promises to the best of my ability. Here's what I'd do. I'd say, listen, we've agreed we're going to abolish the education department, and we all know that the president can't do everything by himself. I can provide leadership. That's why my executive order. I can now sit in the House. I'm just going to sit in the House every day as president, and I'm going to say, I need you guys to pass this bill today. We need a simple, clean, one-page or less bill that flat out abolishes the general government education department. Congress can do it. You guys promised we would at election time. I said we would. Let's get it done. I'm going to sit in the House. It should take less than a couple of hours to get this done. Then I'm going to move and sit in the Senate till it's passed. Then I'm going to sign it. And we could just literally babysit bills as they go through one at a time. You know what? We're going to abolish the BATF. It's a criminal organization. It's become judge, jury, and executioner. Nobody wants it. Nobody likes it. No one leads it. It's gone. And I'm going to sit here in the House. House, you need to get this done. And I really want to know. And I want up and down clear votes. And I'd be broadcasting this to the mainstream press, to the people. Look, Congress doesn't need big omnibus spending bills where you don't know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right, what we're spending, what we're doing. Compromise bills. Oh, you voted for this and you shouldn't have. Oh, you didn't vote for this and you should have. No, clean up and down bills. We want to abolish the education department bill. You guys, can you write it, or do you need me to use ChatGPT and write one for you? Let's go. And I would just hammer through and just be absolutely like a dog with a bone on whatever issue that I'm on. And I would just absolutely just eclipse everything in the world. You want to talk about tariffs? We're not talking about tariffs. Today we're abolishing the education department. You got it? And if Congress doesn't cooperate, then I'd start taking names. And I'd start to say, listen, we're going to target you folks, you clowns, for removal. Because you're against the Republic. You're against what we ran on. Okay, and I would be laser life focused. And then I'd start to get congressmen and senators. Are you going to join me and sit down here and talk about abolishing the education department in the mainstream press? I would absolutely eclipse the press. I would eclipse the press with my agenda and just say, look, this is what we're focused on right now. And anybody who's not going to be along needs to be documented and get out of the way. And I would go for it like that. What do you think, Doctor?
Well, it's the antithesis of what he's doing. I mean, really, there's a big smear of butter over every piece of bread that's out there. I mean,
I don't want that. I just want to focus on what we're working on.
No, I'm telling you, the thing that you're suggesting might have some real dramatic results, but you look at getting rid of the BATFE. I mean, Pam Bondi and Trump had a joint elbow-to-elbow discussion about red flag laws at the federal level the other day. I mean, holy Hannah, he's revisiting what happened in his first administration. Oh, we're going to seize the guns and we'll do the due process later.
I mean, yeah,
criminal
actions. He should be impeached over that kind of stuff. Stop it now.
Well, Sam, stop for just a second. You want these clean bills up and down? So do I, but here's the deal. He wants one big, beautiful bill. That's what he got with his continuing resolution. And I would, if I was a betting man, I would put money on the fact that he's doing a full court press on one big, beautiful bill to be ready before September 30th, so it gets passed by the September 30th deadline that the continuing resolution expires on. And you're going to see exactly the opposite of what you have suggested. And it's probably a good policy, what you've been looking for, and to a great degree. I don't know if he can spend the whole day sitting in the House and the Senate.
Sure, I can.
I mean, he should have a job, because he should have a job that he's doing in the executive branch that Article 2 defines. But the fact of the matter is, he's got a vice president that's the president of the Senate that could be participating in these kind of things. I mean, yeah, there's ways to do it. You delegate authority. That's one of the things in leadership you do, and you find responsibility and you carry it out.
See, but I don't think as president I need to sit there more than a day to start getting things on track.
Well, one day on one issue and another day on another. I mean, the Department of Education is just not even hardly scratching the surface. There's 100,000 smoldering.
Oh, there is.
Fires.
The problem is, this is my point. The target is so broad, so rich, so whatever, to where we're so spread thin to where I don't even know what they're focused on. I can't even tell you over the last 3 months plus. In other words, a quarter of this congressional session is already gone, people.
Yeah, they haven't done anything.
And I don't know that they've done a single thing, and I don't have any idea what they're doing. And so I'd sit there for the bills that I want. I wouldn't sit there every single day the whole congressional session, but I could sit there for enough to bring absolutely laser-like focus to who's the problem, what's happening. And I'd say this, you know what, I don't know why we're not starting at 7 in the morning, Congress. I don't know what your problem is. You're twisting arms and playing games in the back rooms. Now I'm going to start sending my minions through the halls of Congress to start recording you clowns in your backroom deals everywhere. I'm going to send the minions in to start recording you in the halls of Congress, and everywhere you are, everywhere you go, you're going to find a camera. Everywhere you go, we're going to be catching you in your backroom deals. Get on the floor, start voting, start debating, start discussing, start putting the bills, organize them in the order that we need them. Let's go. See, no one's done this kind of stuff before, have they? Ever?
No, but like I say, there's ways to do it more than the president standing there in the hallway watching in the doorway. But I'll just give you an example. Here we had...
I'd just switch my golf course time for that time and would be about even. Not only that, since Congress hardly works, I wouldn't even be in there very much anyway, right?
You probably wouldn't. But here's the deal. Here's what happened. Pete Hegseth gave a report yesterday in the cabinet meeting about a bloodless coup, and this is kind of what I called it when it came up in the webinar last night. A bloodless coup in Panama. The bellicose position, we're going to take Panama Canal back, let's mount them up and send them in. 101st Airborne and the Expeditionary Forces of the Marine Corps are on their way, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Pete went down there, and I think the Panamanians took a deep breath and said, here's a way to save face and maintain control and appear that we're all kumbaya, handshakes, hugs, and kisses. So here's what happened. Pete went down there and signed a joint military kind of agreement where we're going to have troops there on the ground. We're going to kind of reinitialize some old U.S. military bases. We're going to be able to help people recognize that the Chinese are being pushed out. And oh, by the way, the U.S. gets first in line for free. Anyway, this is a thing that came up yesterday.
The runner on third takes a short lead. Elwood glances over. Now back to the plate. He sets the pitch. It's swung on strike three. They've won it. They have won it. World champions. Jim, what's it like down on the field?
John, it's a madhouse down here. I'm trying to get to Bob Elwood, the winning pitcher. Bob, how does it feel winning the seventh game on a strikeout?
Yeah, I thought he'd be looking for a slider, so I came on with my fastball.
World champions! Is this the greatest moment of your life?
Absolutely not. Jim, the best moments for me are breakfast with the kids, long walks with my wife, just holding her hand,
Marriage. You're never too far apart when you're still holding hands. From your neighbors, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Jim, when was the last time you held your wife's hand?
Well, it's been a while.
I tell you need to step up to the plate, Jim.
For more tips on strengthening your marriage, visit family.mormon.org.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Okay, so the example I was talking about was something Pete went down to Panama and moseyed around. I'm understating a lot of things, I'm sure. He probably swaggered around, knowing how he does some of his activities. But the fact of the matter was they were able to come to a closure that I think is at the very least a nice peaceful way of being able to get some of the things that they've been looking for without having to be confrontational to the point. Now, in the back rooms, they may have been confrontational, but I think Panama saw this. Hey, wait a minute, this is win-win. We get to maintain our sovereignty. We get to maintain ostensible control of the Panama Canal, which is something they've always wanted. We get the United States here to help us upgrade our military posture on a lot of different things, and we can smooth the Chinese out of there sooner or later. That's the story that's out for sale right now. And so, these kinds of things can happen. The velvet glove on the iron fist, I don't know, kind of thing. But I think that we saw that happen. And when I was listening in on the cabinet meeting, and everybody was doing their reporting, it's funny. He goes around the table, and every one of the department heads is basically, they get like a 30-second back of a business card kind of statement that they can make, and it's really just a dog and pony fluff show for everybody that's reporting, but they can give the appearance that they're doing some really amazing things. They do have, and Sam inferred this is what we have is a Congress that's remiss. Congress has done diddly squat nothing in this entire
They've intentionally
year so far.
blocked all of Donald's great efforts in many, many, many ways, and it's Mike Johnson that's slow walking this thing. Why somebody doesn't take action? Look, we've already wasted a quarter of the congressional session already. We've done nothing except for spend ourselves into oblivion and slow walk everything President Trump wants to achieve.
But Sam, you want to take names and kick butts for those that are not on his agenda. But if you look at Massey and his effort to try and to rein in a Leviathan government, and Trump wants to boot his butt out of the House.
Right.
This
so
guy
that's
is
where
the
I would
most
that's where I would
principled-
stand for the proper principles, though. Expose who's who. Let's just expose. Let's just have somebody report, some reporter somewhere. Hey, you know what? They just passed this big omnibus budget. I don't know what you call this thing. What do you call this thing? House votes 216 to 214 on, quote, budget resolution to advance Trump's agenda. And so I would just lay out as a reporter, flat out, hey, Trump and Clown Show Johnson, they want to basically spend us into oblivion. This should not be happening. Massey's right. We need to stop this immediately. But see, this is the deal. We need to reject these big omnibus spending bills and have piecemeal legislation. That's what I'm saying, is that no one's really advocating or speaking out for that I can see.
Well, I don't think Trump has any inclination to do what you're suggesting. Your idea
he
is a good
doesn't.
one. I'm not
So
arguing
expose
with you,
him.
Sam, on this, but Trump does not
Right,
have
so expose
an
him.
inclination.
Look, who's talking about single issue bills right now like I am?
Well, it's pretty thin audience.
Yeah, I want to see where in the news, who's talking about this like I am. And just expose it. Where's Massey and where's the Freedom Caucus folks? You know, hey, we've been talking about single issue bills, small bills, look what's constitutional, reducing spending. None of that's on the table. This, House 216 to 214 vote in the House, that's not at all about reducing expenditures. It's about just basically kicking the can down the road again, right?
Well, absolutely.
Okay,
and I'm
so
afraid
someone needs to
that'll-
flat out expose this. Who's exposing it? Where in the media is someone boldly speaking out like me going, hey, Massey's right, this has got to stop. See, we need to build coalitions around what's right and stand up.
Well, that's what your media and those of us that are on the same page are trying to do. But Trump is not on that page.
I agree.
And to say
someone needs to
he's
shame
going
him
to
into
do
getting on
something-
that page.
Yeah, but Trump's not going to, all the people that are twinkle toes and starry eyes right now that are in the House and the Senate that are kumbaya, we're all, we're all in this together as Republicans are on his page. And there needs to be some the constituency out there that are saying, no, stand by one for just a minute. All these executive orders aren't going to mean diddly squat. Literally, truth. I mean,
That's right.
When
So
when
where's 30 congressmen? Let's just take 5%. What would that be? If there's 435 members, 43 would be 10%. Half that would be just say 22. 22 congressmen is 5%. Can you get 5%? Just say 20 congressmen to round it off. A little less than 5%. About the amount that it took to create the American Revolution. 3%, whatever. Okay, can we get 3% to stand together and start having press conferences every single day?
I'd sure love it, but we don't.
Yeah, see, we need to do those things. Somebody's got to provide the leadership to do those things. Otherwise, we're just doomed. We've already wasted a quarter of the congressional event, and we've done nothing except for spin us into oblivion. I'm telling you, the Republicans will get their heads handed to them next election cycle if they don't do something and do something fast.
Well, it's something they've got to really put some deep thought into, and I don't think anybody, well, not anybody. Massey was the only guy willing to stand up on this kick the can down the road with this beautiful big bill.
And I really commend Massey for his stance, by the way.
I do too, but yesterday Trump was talking about a beautiful bill, a big, beautiful bill. I mean, this is how he's fixated. It's like, look, we'll pass it all in one big lump, and who the heck knows what's in it. What it is a replay of the Pelosi thing. You got to pass the bill to find out what's in it.
Yeah, or it's a repeat of the Republican Revolution back in the 90s led by Newt Gingrich. Sounded all awesome, said it was the contract for America. Turned out to be the contract on America, and it was a spectacular failure.
Well, that's the thing, is the contract, the only contract these guys have with America is called the United States Constitution. That is the contract. And if they're violating that, they're violating their oath of office, and they're voters back home. The problem is we got states like Utah, our home state, where we keep putting yo-yos and bozos into play. Well, okay, let's look. Orrin Hatch, all these 40-plus years. Then Mitt Romney comes in, and he kind of flubs it, blows it. Then we put Curtis in. Every one of them is just another face on the same philosophy. The voters have, and then look at our governor. Holy cow, Spencer Cox, for crying out loud. I mean, and they keep getting voted into office. We, the people, are truly the responsible. We're the ones that are responsible for what we get. And
that's right, and that's why I'm trying to use all my influence the best I can, as small or whatever as you might call that, to really highlight what needs to happen. Folks, I'm telling you right now, this is the best chance we've ever had to rein in government. Forget debating Trump. Forget, hey, whether it's, what agenda that Trump has got more towards what we want than anybody that I've seen in my lifetime, even though he's far away from what I want. But I'm telling you right now, they're all looking to see which way the wind blows. And if enough Americans were to really stand up, we could change this game. But I don't see it. I don't see that we're really on board to do it at all.
Well, on a positive note, though, Sam, before the break at the bottom of the hour, I will mention Bobby Kennedy was in Salt Lake City this week to congratulate the legislature. I mean, holy cow, the legislature did something wonderful. They banned fluoride in the water for the state of Utah. It's got to be out of the water by the 7th of May. I mean, we're talking 2 weeks from now, my friend. I mean,
and that's
it's
great
amazing
news. It's a great start, and at least something good's happening somewhere. And I agree, we got to take the good that we can get when we can get it. By the way, there's a lot of good, and we'll get to this. I meant to get this to at the start of the show, but we had to kind of rearrange things slightly. But we got a guest on, Mr. Casey Whalen, investigative journalist / videographer. He's proprietor of North Idaho Exposed. That's his organization. CaseyWhalen.substack.com. You can check out a lot of his incredible work. And what he does, and he's just so good at this, he just shows up with a camera, man, and just starts filming people, and people literally lose their minds when he does this. And he gets so much good information on record that there's been several different people who have ended up going to jail partly due to his work. It's been tremendous stuff because he's exposed them as criminals. Violence, private property violations, the whole list goes on and on. Casey, welcome back to Liberty Roundtable Live, sir.
Thank you, Sam and Dr. Bradley, for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Quickly set this story up, then we'll take a break and come right back and drill in a little bit. What's going on? You went to Boise, right?
Yeah, I've been in the Boise area since early January, actually, and I came here. I like to embed in communities, essentially, and work on stories. So I've been working on various things, but I researched the school districts for Marxist indoctrination, essentially, and that's a whole other topic. But basically, the Idaho legislature passed something called House Bill 96, and that basically limited what government entities, municipalities, etc., are allowed to fly. The flags they're allowed to display in or outside the building. And
so hold on. So just so we're clear, we're talking about flags that government buildings fly, including government schools, right?
Not the schools. The schools are separate, I guess. From what I recall. It's just government type buildings or institutions in the state of Idaho. So
let me ask this: President Trump did something related to this too, right?
Not. I know he's been working on dismantling DEI, but I'm not sure.
All right, we'll talk about it. Idaho saying, "Hey, what flags can you fly? What flags can you not fly, and why?" Casey drills in. Dr. Scott Bradley, Casey Whalen, yours truly. Continue in seconds. We'll drill into this. We got a lot to cover today, ladies and gentlemen. Hang tight. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. Straight ahead on your radio.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The U.S.-China trade war is heating up. Beijing is hiking tariffs on American goods, going from 84 to 125% effective tomorrow. A few days ago, President Trump announced tariffs on China, totaling 145%. The sightseeing helicopter was over the Hudson between New York City and New Jersey yesterday afternoon. Something went terribly wrong.
The plane started falling apart in midair, and then the tail came off, and then just flipped over in midair and started falling into the ground. Propellers still propelling without the helicopter as it was falling.
Bruce Wall was watching as the copter plunged into the river. A family of 5 from Spain and the pilot on board, all were lost. No one was hurt at Washington's Reagan National Airport when the wingtip of one plane bumped another aircraft. That happened on the tarmac yesterday afternoon. The doctor will see you now, Mr. President.
It's the president's first physical exam of his second term, and it will be conducted at Walter Reed National Medical Center. Earlier this week, he wrote online that he has never felt better, but nevertheless, these things must be done. In November 2023, the Trump campaign issued a doctor's statement saying Trump's overall health was excellent. At age 78, Donald Trump is the oldest person sworn in as president. Greg Clugston, the White House.
House Republicans have approved a framework for budget legislation that advances President Trump's agenda. Mr. Trump calls it the big, beautiful bill. The latest inflation report shows that price hikes are easing at the wholesale level, reflecting the cost of goods before they reach consumers. First decline in wholesale prices in close to a year and a half. On Wall Street this morning, stocks are in the red. The Dow down 259 points, NASDAQ off 76. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You want to give your dogs the very best. You take them on walks and pick the best food. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Fido's to every bite. Just sit back and watch them lick their bowl clean, knowing they are getting 40 carefully selected ingredients made from whole foods, spices, and fibers, from bananas to sweet potatoes. Go to drfidos.com today and subscribe to save $20 each month. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Don't just take our word for it.
I have used it on 2 dogs, Kipper and Coda, but I just started giving Kipper tons of the Dr. Fido's product. He actually started eating all of his food. Like, I actually had to give him more. The product has been very successful for both dogs.
Every dog deserves a topper worth barking about. Go to drfidos.com. That's drphytos.com.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
Do you treasure your liberty? Well, at lovingliberty.net, we most certainly do. And we want to help protect your liberty too. Become part of the family. Everyone knows that the core of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect the integrity of its family, we the people. Won't you join us as a Loving Liberty sponsor to help us promote the principles in the 5,000-year leap? Let's restore the miracle that changed the world at lovingliberty.net.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines. Build a strong cyber attack response. Secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
Live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, Dr. Scott Bradley, Casey Whalen, yours truly on your radio. Casey, Idaho, in Boise, researching. I guess there's a bill there talking about what flags you can fly. Casey, is that right?
Yeah, yep, that's correct. And so basically the mayor of Boise, Lauren McLean, is very, very liberal. She's promoted the Pride, events throughout the years. And so I decided to go to Boise City Hall and with my cameras, basically film what happens, basically. And I was there 2 months ago, and they actually locked me in the mayor's office just because I was looking around the building. I'd never been there before. And nothing happened, but it was just funny. They tried to momentarily lock me in the door so a police officer could come talk to me and just voice his concern that I was looking around the building. So anyways, I decided to go back to the city hall and just notify them of the law. And so I made a 5-minute video on it on Tuesday, and that ended up going viral. It was run on InfoWars, and so people want to see that video, they can go to my X platform, which is Casey_Whalen. That's WHALEN, and you can see that video. And I just go in there. I go into the mayor's office right away, talk to the receptionist, and they say that they'll, they thought the law didn't go into effect until July 31st, which is usually the case. But this law was passed under an emergency, so it went into effect immediately last week. And so we had a little conversation, and this guy was saying that, don't worry, we'll get it taken down. Well, I want to talk to someone in maintenance and have them take it down immediately. So I did find somebody. They said they would take it down. But basically the mayor's defiant, and in the last couple of days, the flag is still up. There were some pictures yesterday that people were taking outside of City Hall showing the flag down, the pride flag, or it's like the trans flag is actually what it is. So it's like a pride and a transgender flag, I guess, together, or maybe it's the trans flag itself. I guess I'm not educated enough to know, maybe.
Well, the people that flag, relates to just gets bigger and bigger as they continue to add, letters to the list, right?
Yeah. Yep. So anyways, long story short, it looks like yesterday they took down a flag and then they put up maybe a new one. I'm not quite sure, but the flag was down momentarily and then it was put back up, or a new one was put back up. So now we have the media that's doing their pieces on it, which has been relatively tongue-in-cheek. It's just one was a KIVI interviewed some people about the flag outside of City Hall the day after I made my video on Wednesday. And, but what's interesting is that there's no teeth in this law, right? So there's no real repercussions. So the mayor is essentially just ignoring it because there's no ramifications. But at the same time, what kind of precedent does that set? I'm seeing comments from people asking, what's the point of having law if for all people, the mayor is not even going to follow the law, so.
Well, and that's the problem. Now, here's kind of the story from my perspective. So you're covering Idaho, and we're finding out that they're playing games. They had some. Turns out that Utah became the first state to ban the flying of pride flags at all state government buildings and schools. The restrictions, believe it or not, follow Governor Spencer Cox in the state of Utah's legislative ban. He didn't want to sign it, so he just let it go into effect because he knew that it'd be overridden if he, rejected it. So he didn't want to give his signature to it, but he also didn't want to be the one to get overridden. So he basically let it go into law without his signature. Starting May 7th, state or local government buildings in Utah will be fined $500 a day for flying any flag other than the United States flag, the Utah state flag, military flags, and a short list of other flags. So Utah kind of became the first on this. Now Idaho and other states are doing this, but you're saying in their laws there's no teeth, right?
Yeah, there's no ramifications. That's one of the first rebuttals to the video I made was that there's no ramifications to violating this. So I guess there are some people working on a lawsuit right now to try, to somehow force her to comply or something. But people are. It really just it's just a kind of a quandary, right? People are really asking the question: what's the point of having a law if even the mayor's not going to follow the law? So it's really.
Well, Dr. Bradley, it reminds me of this.
situation.
I just want a list of the laws that I can break, because I could probably get pretty rich if I get a list of laws that I'm allowed just to, ignore with impunity. So,
well, Sam,
can you provide me that list?
You wouldn't be allowed to break any of them. But here's an interesting thing also. All of these quote-unquote laws that were basically declarations or mandates, you will wear a mask, you will social distance, you will lock yourself down, blah, blah, blah. There was not a single solitary. To my knowledge, there may have been some locations that actually codified them and put, penalties and so on and so forth, which should have been responded to and overthrown and all that kind of good stuff. But I could not find a single case of any of those things. These things were eyewash, and most people complied. You try going to Walmart without a mask on. That's a pretty brave act in those days. But you know what? There was no enforcement, if you will, about this. You talk to the officers. Our sheriff. We went down and talked to the sheriff and said, okay, so if you're out doing this, whatever they've just banned, and you guys show up, what are you going to put on the ticket? What ordinance, code, whatever you're going to put into the violation there? He said, well, I'm going to enforce the law. He said, well, what is the law? Can you tell me? Is it a law when it's a decree that's made by a vocal governor or maybe a mayor or whatever? And really, it's not really a law. And so that's kind of where Idaho is right at this moment. I think Utah did put it as an ordinance. It goes with penalties.
There's a little bit of teeth, $500 a day. Now, whether they'll uphold it and really fine people is another discussion, but at least the teeth are there in Utah. In Idaho, basically, it's really virtually a resolution, isn't it, Casey?
It's a feel-good resolution.
It is now part of Idaho code, but there's just nothing that can be done if they violate it. So.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's more like a resolution. It's more like, hey, here's our guidance. We don't want you doing this.
If
there's no penalty, there's no real law, there's no repercussions for violation of the law. So to me, it's just more of a resolution. It's like guidance. And yes, it's in code, but if there's no penalty, it's like, oh, they're recommending that is all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see how you can interpret it that way for sure.
And I think that's part of the problem is it's going to be interpreted that way. I mean, it's kind of like declaring some frog species to be the state reptile. I mean, woo-woo. I mean, so what does it do? I think that a lot of the state legislature, they've got some Speaker of the House up there that is a loose cannon. The governor's a loose cannon. Idaho has a lot of challenges right now. And the people in the state need to say, wait. Is this what we want to be known for? And again, it comes to the voters. That's the way I'd put it. But
I agree 100%. And the voters may think that something great's happened in Idaho, and this is where a lot of times the duping occurs. Hey, we passed a law, and you can't fly these bogus flags anymore, so most people see less of the flags, at least temporarily. They ignore it. A couple of years later, they just start flying the flags, and since there's no teeth, there's no penalty. But when a Casey Whalen starts putting a camera on topic and starts doing videos, pretty soon the people realize they've been played, Casey.
Yeah, it has resonated quite a bit. It's people are running with it, and people have contacted the mayor's office and voiced their disdain for what she's doing, and so we'll see what happens. That was the whole point, though, was just sort of to light the wick and see what happens.
Yeah, now you understand what the criminal's creed is, don't you, Casey?
I guess I don't.
I made it up, by the way. I'm not really a criminal, but I created a criminal's creed. Here's what it is. What are you going to do about it?
Yep,
so we're going to fly the gay flag. We're going to fly the pride flag. And we're not supposed to, says the law. What are you going to do about it?
Yep. And actually, this is interesting because I've been focusing on the school districts here, West Ada and Boise school districts, since I've been here. And I've been doing records requests through these school districts. And the Boise school district actually tried to threaten to criminally trespass me because I went to Boise High School just to go in and look around. And that's a whole other kind of story. But they just informed me I had to go to the district office to get permission to go into the school. But I didn't leave immediately. I took a picture, and so they threatened to prosecute me for trespass. So they're really trying to. Basically, I was trying to uncover.
There's penalties for you, just not for them. Buddy.
Right? Yeah. So with Trump coming back into office, well,
go ahead, skip the break. Continue,
the break. So when Trump has been trying to dismantle DEI in the schools through the Department of Education, this has been putting a lot of pressure on these school districts. And for instance, the West Ada School District has sent a Dear Colleague letter to their teachers within the school districts, letting them know they want, posters, just whatever's in the classroom. They give them guidelines as to what they can have. They want it to be neutral. They don't want any DEI type stuff, because if they do, they could be in jeopardy of losing their federal funding. So this has caused quite a row. There was a teacher at a Lewis and Clark Middle School here in West Ada School District, and in January she was told to take down some posters, and one was a picture of some hands with hearts in the middle of a hand that said "Everyone is welcome here." So she took that down in January, and then she defied their wishes and put these two posters back up, or at least two that I know of, back up in her classroom in March, and it went viral. And basically there was a bunch of teachers, because I got a bunch of emails from this particular teacher, and she was receiving all the support from these teachers and these other virtue signalers, basically saying they want to put the poster up in their class. And so we've had instances like this where there's been some defiance, and I've been seeing a collection of, these liberals, socialists, whatever you want to call them, and they're banding together to openly defy what, is trying to be done in the education system. And it's also obviously in the government. It's in, it's kind of everywhere. But I'm seeing this across the board, this defiance to try to ban DEI, and it's really, really interesting. They actually even had a chalking event at the school district in support of this teacher after, she put the poster back up, and she was defying the school district, and they thought that was really great. So they've been making an example of her. It's really bizarre. And then so they had this chalking event, and hundreds of people showed up at the school district about 2 weeks ago to show support for her. And then it's just really, really, really interesting times that we're living in right now.
Yeah, so what I find fascinating about this, Dr. Bradley, is the American people think, oh, man, Utah passed a law, there's teeth. Hopefully those teeth will bear fruit. Time will tell and see what happens. Then Idaho passes a law, but, here's the question that I wrote for this based on Casey Whalen's research. Does Idaho have a flag law without penalties? It's a question mark. It's my headline. Do they really? And it looks like that's what they've got.
Yep.
And you've got violators of the law all over the state. Don't care. So now what do you do? In my mind, what Americans need to do is we need good, honest citizen journalists to bring light to the topic, and then for the American people to say this is not acceptable. They need to, not literally, but they need to figuratively, hey, say to the mayor, do you want to resign or do you want to obey the law?
Yeah, there's
Isn't that what we ought to do?
Too.
Oh, there is?
That's the sentiment. Oh, yeah, that's the sentiment out there. People have really had it with this mayor. I guess, more obviously conservatives have. But no, it's definitely at that point where, they're seeing that she's just ignoring this new law, and, thumb her nose at it. So it's very interesting.
Can we get a hold of the Attorney General? What does the Attorney General say?
I don't know. I filed a complaint yesterday, actually, through the Attorney General. And then I know that there's a legislator out there who's working on a brief right now to file a suit against the mayor.
All right, there you have it, Dr. Bradley. What do you say to this?
Well, first bottom line, mine is withdraw your children from the indoctrination centers and homeschool them. Teach them the principles of eternity, of liberty, and so on in your own home. But at any rate, no, I'm wondering if Idaho has any kind of recall type laws on the books that a movement could start where, the people are saying, now I know Boise is extremely, I hate the terminologies, but left leaning. Boise, Idaho is way down the
socialist
tubes
is the word.
That. Okay. Well, and you do that. Here's my aphorism: the higher the population density, the greater the propensity to socialism. And if you've got universities in the community, it goes up on orders of magnitude. So Boise really is a socialist enclave, and it would be probably difficult to get everybody to say, we don't need this mayor anymore. But are there recall laws in Idaho? Are there methodologies of removal from office for violation of principle or anything like that? I'm just wondering, what do we got there in Idaho?
Yeah, I honestly
it's
don't
worth checking out, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what these these people are up to. The people that are putting together a brief, so they're very smart, educated people. They'll probably come up with some remedy. It sounds like they sound pretty sure that they have.
All right, so what we need to
remedy,
do is keep an eye on this thing. We need to watch it. We need to check on if there's recall laws that can be utilized. We need to look at this lawsuit and keep an eye on that. We need to see what they respond to your complaint. We got a lot of follow up on this thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And
all right, Casey, what I want you to do is keep an eye on it and then let me know and come back on the radio and give us an update, because I really want to watch this.
Absolutely.
Because to me, this idea that we're flying flags, especially foreign nation flags above our own, or the United Nations flag above our own, or any of these gay or these other flags, and at some point you say, I personally think that the state flag ought to be the highest. Texas has this right, and then the general government flag can be equal or below that, and then, hey, I don't think we need any other flags, do we?
By the way, Utah.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Utah's law allows a country flag to be flown in the schools. I mean, it's it goes along with a lot of other things.
Yeah, the United States flag, you mean?
Flags. Country flags, as in other countries, Colombia, for example.
Yeah, see, I don't think we should be doing that.
You can fly that in a Utah community. It's a very interesting thing.
Can you still do it even after they changed the law just now?
No, this is the law. The new law includes a list: U.S. flag, Utah flag, municipal flag, military flag, tribal flag, country flag.
So I can just put up like the North Korean flag and stuff?
You could. I mean, according to the law.
Wow. All right. There you have it. The question becomes, whose banner are we under then, Doctor? At some point, where's the sovereignty?
Well, yeah, I don't think God has a specific flag, but I'd rather fly that higher than any of them. But just to kind of look back in history, and this is not really completely germane, but tyrants always try and control access to prevent messages from getting out. Casey's run into that a number of times, trespasses and being locked in an office. You remember, Sam, when we went back to to Washington, D.C. and tried to go in and film as we tried to get senators and congressmen to agree to uphold the Constitution. You remember that?
Yes, indeed. Sure.
About 8 years ago, something like that. Anyway, in Harry Reid's office, we were trying to film that effort. And they called the Capitol Security.
Unglued, didn't they?
They wanted us arrested for being in their office. We had the audacity to go in there and ask them to obey the Constitution. So yeah, this is how tyrants work. It's how tyrants work.
And then I was going into the I don't know what they call that thing, the pit or what anyway, the house floor or whatever. I can't remember what they call that thing. The pit. What do they call that thing?
The well.
Yeah, the well. That's right. I rolled into the well, and this lady was checking me in, and I'm like, "Hey, do you believe in the Constitution?" She's like, "That's too political. I can't talk about that."
Oh my gosh!
I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I was standing there. I heard it.
I'm political.
I can testify what Sam says is true.
This is the law. What are you talking about? And she goes, I just cannot respond to that. It's just too polarizing. It's too political. Wow. I said, ma'am, upholding of the supreme law of our land is not political or polarizing. You need to get with the program. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was similar to that, where I'm just like, you know what? I can't believe this. She literally told me that. And I'm thinking, wow.
She probably holds office somewhere now. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes.
She probably serves on Ocasio-Cortez's staff or something. AOC.
Well, maybe she's in Boise.
Casey, any final words on this? Let's get an update here in the next couple of weeks as you get more on this. This is worth following, though, because Utah was the first state. They put a little teeth in it. Now other states are trying to ride on those coattails, but without teeth, it means nothing except they're past the political football around more, right?
Yep, and actually AOC and Bernie will be here next, I think it's Tuesday, here in Napa. So that I don't know if I'm going to that, but that's
Are you going to try to get her autograph there?
I probably, yeah. I'll see if I can get a kiss or something,
There you go.
But there's
because
actually
you're one of those deranged white males that's just in love with her, right? You know that.
Oh, absolutely. But there's a protest today actually at City Hall in support of the pride flag and all that kind of stuff. So I'll keep you up to date on this flag thing because it's pretty interesting, really. So I appreciate.
So you're telling me there's a protest
people...
today to promote the gay, lesbian, bisexual,
right.
transgender,
to
whatever
support,
flag?
To support the city flying that flag, yes.
Even though it's against the law.
Correct.
So I got a question: are they going to arrest everybody protesting to break the law? What do you think of protests to blatantly break the law, Doctor? Let's talk about that for a second.
No,
What do you think?
This is America. I mean, we're not Tenement Square. I mean, we have this right to peaceably assemble. We have this
hold on.
freedom of speech.
So stop. You made a big difference now. Peacefully assemble is not the same as a protest to break the law.
No, I mean, if they go there and they say we'd like the law changed, that's called. If we can't do that, we're just like Tenement Square. I support the idea of them going there and expressing their opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very concerned.
And they're promoting it. They're promoting the whole topic anyway, so it's kind of a win-win sort of thing. Anyway.
I support if they peacefully want to discuss that and they want to assemble peacefully to do those things. I support that. When we get into protest, though, pretty soon we're destroying private property and we're doing all these other things, and we say we have that right to do that, and that's what I'm pushing back on. I agree people have the right to peacefully say, hey, we don't like this law, we think this law is wrong, we'd like to change this law. They have every right to a redress of grievances. There's just certain roads they have authority and proper role of government to go down, and certain roads they don't have the right to go down. So if it's a peaceful assembly, I support it.
Well, if they try to go down and burn the castle down, and that's what some people, this right of redress, the 61st Magna Carta point, then that's the way a lot of people try and translate it is. That says if you don't hear us and do what we want you to do, we can burn the castle down. I mean,
that's where I'm pushing back.
And that's exactly what the Magna Carta, point 61, said. And that was something that some Americans believe can be done, whether it's a George Floyd kind of thing or a flag demonstration, whatever. It does not include that ability to burn the castle down.
And that's why I'm spending time, because we take this, you have the right to peacefully assemble, then it's pretty soon you have the right to protest, and then it's like, hey, we're protesting, and then it's like, well, hey, some of our people got crazy and did wrong things, but you can't really arrest them because it's their First Amendment. See, we've lost our marbles. That's wrong. Now, if you want to peacefully assemble and have speakers come up and say, hey, you know what, we think this flag law is wrong, we think we ought to be able to promote this flag, and you know, they have every right to their free speech, every right to advocate for that, as long as they don't break any laws and as long as they're peacefully doing it. The other question is this, you know, are they just going to break the law like the mayor's doing, or are they going to advocate for the change in the law? And that's the difference, too. It's kind of like I'm against income taxes. I think they're criminal and I think they're wrong. I think they're against the law, but I pay them because I render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, and I say I don't want to lose everything I have on that altar. At the same time, hey, I'd peacefully assemble to advocate for change, like shutting down the IRS. See, there's a big difference between the two examples that I'm giving, Doctor. And if this is a peaceful assembly, I support them. Even though I don't support what they do, I support their right to do it, right?
And absolutely that's the case. And that's one of the big beefs that the American Founding Fathers had, and put it in the Declaration of Independence. They had been shut down. They had been disbanded. Their legislative bodies had been put out of business. The king said, no, you can't even talk to me about this. And the American Founding Fathers protected the privilege of being able to approach those of power, if you will, speaking truth to power. And they were able to hit that wonderful balance so the truth can ultimately prevail.
And that's why I spend time on it to articulate that balance. By the way, I want to start a peaceful assembly to abolish the BATF. What do you think of that?
Pam Bondi's not on your side with that red flag law stuff she's pushing.
Well, shame on Pam. By the way, we'll talk about Pam next hour because she says that she's going to create a task force to protect your Second Amendment. Oh, don't be deceived, my fellow Americans. We'll talk about it. Casey Whalen, thank you, my friend. Come back soon.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Casey Whalen, investigative journalist, doing a phenomenal job. Check out his incredible work, CaseyWhalen.substack.com. Also check out To Preserve the Nation, the incredible collegiate series, available at freedomsrisingsun.com. I'm Sam Bushman. Hour 1 in the can, Hour 2 coming up. Spread the word, lovingliberty.net, incredible talk radio around the clock. God save our republic.